Oh, hello. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing good. Back at uni now.
Yeah, your schedule must be crazy. I know. I feel for you. I do. Mine's been a bit crazy myself. This is the first time I've streamed like all week. I've just been doing uploads. So, hi, Mibi. Hello there, my friend book lover. Don't you love that intro music, book lover? Like, it's one of my favorites. It was this man right here on classical guitar doing Fly Me to the Moon. And then our friend Christopher Motti, from his channel, he plays the bass and he did a little bit of a thing with it in some production and turned it into one of my favorite pieces. It's just exquisite. It makes me happy every time I hear it. And I'm making Rekkr scream a little bit like now because it's not exactly the best thing I've ever done. Like, so, like I'm a rapper, like I write rap, like, but I do love when he plays classical guitar. It speaks to me. Yeah. It is a good piece. I mean, you have to admit it's
a fun piece. I do like playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I've played it in a while. I've probably forgotten completely how to play it.
I want to thank you for being a mod over there on Kick and banning the salesman. Like, you got to ban the bot. Like, yes, I always do that for you on Kick, don't I?
Yeah, they hit my channel. They hit my channel as well at the exact same time.
Oh, did they?
They must have some sort of like AI thing that just hits every channel that goes live.
Yeah, it's a bot. It's definitely botted. Even though it sounds personal, it's definitely botted. And unfortunately, there's no way to report them the same that there is on Twitch. On Twitch, we can report them for a view bot. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff about that right now with the view bot people. But you can't report them on Kick. I think they will. But right now, they all you can do is just ban it out of the if they're selling stuff. I
Mm.
like the way they say they're not really trying to promote anything or sell anything,
Yeah.
but they actually are. In the last, it's
Yep.
like 3 messages long, right? And the last one is a link to where to get the get the subscription bots. Crazy.
Exactly.
So tonight, hey, we're back to the 48 laws. I thank you all for being patient while we took a little bit of a break again. My schedule has been erratic to say the least. I don't have as much time available right now. Well, things are quieting down. Like I said, this is the first live stream I've done in
Mm.
like a week and a half, maybe. Oh,
Yep.
so I feel a little rusty. How's my voice sound? Do I sound like me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks. So we're supposed to do the 48 laws today. Not all of them, just chapter 2, law 2. Just the
Exactly.
second one. 2 weeks ago, we opened up the series with the first one and an overview of the whole book. And so, well, I have to be honest, Rick. This
Mm.
one, like, I know you're not going to take it personal. That's why I love to stream with you. You're very, when we do this stuff, it's all intellectual conversation, right? It's all pros and
Mm-hmm.
cons and facts and this and bring in psychology, bring in emotional, whatever. So
Absolutely.
you're not going to get upset when I went, what the F are you trying to do to me, dude? Like, you rocking my foundation on trust on the whole damn world. Because if you take it at face value, I wanted to shred the whole chapter. Seriously. I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
It
Because,
is a very brutal chapter.
I mean, what is life if you can't have relationships? And what are relationships without trust?
Exactly.
So for me, the way I look at the world, which I admit sometimes the glasses are a little rose tinted, um, I want to live in that relationship, companionship kind of interaction space, I'm all about communication so when they started talking about trust with all of it really threw me. I mean, I realize you can communicate without trust, but for me, it's just not worth it. you know, um, it's one of my main issues. Trust is a big issue for me. I really had some issues with this chapter. Mhm.
Understandable.
How about you? I mean, first, before we even get into dissecting, first glance,
Sorry. Just dying a little bit.
I'll put you on the spot. First glance, what did it do to you?
Um, at first glance, it seemed very, very manipulative. It came across as just being an absolute sociopathic way
Yo,
of
mhm.
viewing relationships and friendships.
you know, I hear you. It was more like, how to be a sociopath, socially unaccepted, how to be the bad guy, or a psychopath, or a serial killer, or a criminal. Like, yeah, like it was like a how-to for that. It was
Yeah.
really annoying me because I really don't think if you take it at face value, you could get very far. You might win a situation.
No.
I'm not saying you won't make money or you won't be successful in a business venture, but as far as the balance of life, hell no. Like hell no. In there's gotta be some give and take. Um,
Yeah. The way I see it is this chapter is not designed for like social life. This chapter is not even close to how
mhm.
you should be behaving socially out
Right. It's not
outside of
relationship
work.
advice. It's definitely not relationship
No.
advice at all. But here's the thing. Even though I was annoyed at this law, like first of all, I told you I was gonna have issues with this book anyway, all the way through. I knew it because it's like everybody who does it with a like, yeah, that's right. You know, you got to like step on them to get ahead. You got to do like, it's very brutal. It's very rough. It's like,
Mm.
and it kind of leads to conversations that are just really one sided and a little too sharp and kind
Yeah,
of miss the point. So, on,
absolutely.
on the other hand, I thank you because damn, is it challenging. I really had to spend some time thinking about it. We spent some time talking about it back and forth to come up with how how is it actually relatable to all of us, not just a
Mm.
select few that want to survive in a dog eat dog killer atmosphere. Okay. Like, but
Yeah,
how can you relate to it on the as the average person, you know, going forward, which was the challenge for me. And I think, well, they can decide for us later. And please don't hesitate to hit the back of the videos and comment whether you like it or not. I can take the criticism. If you think we missed the mark, I want to hear that. Like, because how am I going to grow without it, right, Rick? I mean,
mm.
how are we gonna know we're missing the mark if you don't tell us? You know, because we're just gonna keep going on with it, you know. Um, we wanted it relatable to everybody, which would you agree was kind of the challenge, a big challenge.
Yeah. Just trying to actually, I guess, have it, um, have it be usable in everyday life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how does this function? How could it function, or how would it need to be modified to um be acceptable and not have you come across as a complete sociopath within a friend group.
Mm-hmm.
Also, thank you, Shil, for 21 months. I appreciate that.
That's like really cool. Because we are streaming, by the way. If you hear messages or see messages from all over, for I am streaming to my YouTube, my Twitch, and my Kick, and Rekkr is streaming
I
to his Twitch, right? And your
My
Kick.
Twitch and Kick. I this is the first time I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm. So we're on 5 platforms at the time, handling 5 different types of messages. So
Yep.
if we miss anything, just tag us, like, or redo it, or you know, let a mod know, because we don't want to ignore you, but we do want to actually get through the presentations. And
Hmm.
as one of our mods actually suggested, we do have the presentation linked down below for anybody that wants to look at it in full or read along if it's too small on your screen or you want it for reference later. And I've also added most of the source documentations for some of the slides that I used for those of you that want to take it a little bit further than I did. If not expected at all, not assigning
Hmm.
homework at all, you know. Yeah, Shirley, it is a
That's
lot of
later.
streams at once. She's like 5. Yeah. So what do you say? Is everybody ready to get going? So let's see.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
ready when you are.
All right. Let me see if I can get the first slide up. Okay. So this chapter was titled Never Put Too Much Trust in Friends. Learn how to use enemies. Yeah.
Already off to a great start.
Yes. Okay. But basic, you know, I would agree with this little paragraph here. Robert Greene's Law 2 in the 48 Laws of Power delivers a striking message about the risks of blind trust in friends and the potential strategic value of former enemies. The chapter
Hmm.
challenges assumptions that friends are always reliable allies and instead urges readers to approach relationships with a pragmatic, even cynical mindset. Now, I wouldn't say all relationships. I think going forward, I would redefine relationships as to being goal oriented relationships, business relationships, venture relationships. When you're in a group with leadership or you're trying to accomplish a common goal, These are the kinds of relationships we're talking about. We're not just talking about
Yes.
your partner or your best friend or your children or your mother or any of that stuff. Not those. Okay.
No.
These are
The social one.
goal-oriented relationships. Like these are
Mm.
relationships when you're involved with a group of people, you're in relationships with a group of people in some type of venture, goal-oriented, or you're trying to accomplish something, or the group is trying to accomplish something. You know, that's how it would be personally. Otherwise, also business, business ventures, anything where you're trying to do a startup or create a new business, working at your business, at your job, okay, for project management and etc. That's what we're going to be referring to. No, no, not basically your one-on-ones with everybody else.
No.
I mean, even when you and I tried to use this stream as an example, right? The how we work together
Mm.
on PR and everything, it was a good example because we are friends and we're doing something
Yes.
as a venture together that's goal oriented. And it helped me, when I looked at it that way, understand the dynamics of what they were talking about and what interferes in that.
Yes.
Even though I trust you, you're 100% trustworthy. You're one of my best friends, absolutely.
Mhm.
If not like my person that I go to when I want a balanced opinion about anything, and I know you're going to be honest with me. Like you don't pull no punches. Like,
Mhm.
but that was really unfair because there's not a lot of people like that. Like usually when you talk to your best friend,
No.
they're going to be on your side.
Ours
Yeah, they're
ours
going to.
is the exception. Ours is very much an exception to the general rule of thumb.
Yes, because like we can be brutally honest with each other and not worried about hurt feelings. Like at least
Mm.
at least I know that you will be brutally honest, and I try to be like really direct, and you don't get your feelings hurt. But be me sometimes, depending on what angle I'm coming from, I can be a little sensitive about stuff. So, but you're really good at like the way you say it. You don't coach the language or anything. It's just straightforward. So it's really hard to be overly sensitive about it. You know what I mean? It's just not
Mm.
personal at all.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah,
it's
I do my best to.
yeah, so I would advise anybody, like if you ask Rekkr for his opinion, just make sure that you want it because you're going to get it. You're going to get it in the plainest, straightforward English. It's not going to be sugar coated. He's not going to worry about your feelings. It's going to be exactly what you asked for because he really will believe that that's what you're asking for.
Mhm.
So you know, and I've come to trust that a lot. And we all have friends like that, right? We all have friends like that, or people that we go to. Maybe you don't even consider them a friend, maybe a mentor or an acquaintance or a collaborator, someone you look to that has the experience in the area that you're looking for the advice on, in
Mhm.
that you don't trust them to give you an educated and straightforward answer, without any of the fluff or any of that. So
Yep. And if you don't have a friend like that, try and find one.
yeah, we all need them. We definitely
Yes.
we definitely all need them. Okay, so all right, so now to get on to it. The chapter goes into like this is the book's perspective of the chapter and the core ideas. You want to take this one since I read the other
Okay.
one?
Um, hang on one second. Book's perspective and core ideas. Friends may betray you more quickly than enemies because envy, familiarity, or a sense of entitlement can quickly undermine the relationship, which is very true.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really, especially familiarity is unfortunately a big Achilles heel when it comes to trying to work with someone who is friend or family
Mm-hmm.
in a venture of some sort.
Because there's a lot of assumption there. You kind of presume how they're going to react or what they're doing. because you know them
Well,
so well. Yeah.
well, there's the expectation that you have their back. Like
Mhm.
outside of a business or stuff, or outside of like in your social life, you would pretty much do anything for a friend, for your friend,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
for your best friend. You would make sure that they were, happy, healthy, actually getting getting stuff done. You wouldn't want them to struggle in any way. But when it comes to business or goal orientated stuff, you can't have those kid gloves. And they very much are in a way kid gloves that people tend to put on in friendships. Um and it's detrimental. That's not how you there is never I I can't think of a successful business that has had that kind of dynamic.
You know what? Because
Oh,
of the scrutiny too, because it sets off.
mm,
It's even if your friend or your family member that you hire, like say for like you own a business and you bring them in, or you start a business together, everybody else who works there that's not involved in that very small clique is going to be looking at it laser sharp to try to find something wrong. So everything, I mean, your friend is late once, 15 minutes, it's going to be, oh yeah, they didn't do it. Like I would have got fired, but they didn't. Like even when you don't, even if you're just following the rules with your friend, it becomes under such a focus of everybody else's that it becomes a problem, that it means
mhm,
you're walking on eggshells on how you deal everything. You may actually end up over reprimanding somebody close to you than you would a regular
absolutely.
employee because of how it's going to look to everybody else. And that's not fair to your family member or your friend. It
No.
became, it creates such an imbalance. It creates all this other extra stuff in there that you have to take into consideration that can lead to mistakes.
Mhm.
Great
From
mistake.
the
Like,
from
yeah,
the jump from the jump, it is instantly seen as nepotism. Like straight up. There's no
favoritism.
way there's no way to get around the nepotism label, because it it is it is essentially nepotism, because you wouldn't have thought of your friend if or your family member if they weren't already in your life. If they
Yep.
weren't there and you put them up against someone else who had equal amount of skills, you're going to go with them, or at least like it. That's essentially what you would do. It.
Yep. You know, it comes up a lot. Like you like just think of it like a little simple thing like a schedule change, okay? Like you're friends with someone and say they have a small child at home that's in childcare and something happens at the daycare building and they close down. And this valued employee needs to take unexpected week off but doesn't have any vacation time. If that was in, like, you understand the situation, you don't want to hurt them. They can't help it. They're not doing anything to you on purpose. You want to help them. But if you reward them by adjusting that schedule, you're going to create an imbalance with all the other employees. And it's a what are you
Mhm,
going to do for me kind of thing. And if you don't do anything for them, it causes resentment or expectations, not only from, and then you do help them out, then they become emboldened that you're always going to be helping them out, that you're always going to, because you're friends, going to look at it a little different and not just in, well, listen, the policy says if you don't show up for work for 3 days and you don't have time off, you're fired. Okay. Like that's what the policy says. But so now they're going to think they can always get around the policies. Like they may not intentionally think that, but it's going to be like in the back of their head. Well, you did it once. Like, why wouldn't you do it again? They're going to
mhm,
expect you to always consider them as a friend first and an employee second. And
exactly.
it's and it has to actually be the other way around.
Yes.
Like in for things to be successful and to not cause damage throughout the venture, throughout the company and stuff like that. It's why there are policies like that. Um, but that doesn't have that much to do with trust as it does interactions, because like if I did hire, say I hired you, we're good friends, and
Mm,
say I hired you, like you're good at photography. So I hire you to do some photography stills and video stuff for my channel or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Um, we're going to have the conversation, timeline, pay, when is it going to get done? And then all of a sudden you get a test that gets thrown in that you got to do at uni and you need time off, like for whatever. You probably come to me and say, look, I need a little, pushback on the deadline for this project. And
Timing.
right. Now, I'm not going to push you as hard as I am the other person. I'm going to be like, contracts are contracts. I could give you extra time, but like, what kind of reduction are you looking in your fee? Because like, I've got other people that I have to reschedule now. Like, because say
Mm,
your work now has to go to a videographer who's making a short for me or making some
mm,
promotions with me for it, and they're on a schedule too, and they're waiting for your work. So, if it's going to be trickle down, then I'm going to be looking, to not have a loss and to look for some benefit of it, but I'm not going to be saying, okay, you can have an extra 2 weeks, Reck, and I'm going to dock you 20% off the contract. Like,
yeah.
I don't see that being a comfortable conversation between the two of us.
No, no, exactly.
So I'm going to think twice about saying that to you, whereas it was anybody else, I'd be saying, okay, like, and what are you willing to give up for that? Like, I could work with you, but you have to understand there's all these other people, and if I'm going to have to pay more because I hired this other person and now they're out of work for that week, I've got to throw more money at them. It's coming from you. Like, I'm not taking the
Hmm.
loss, so
Exactly.
yeah. So it could get awkward. It can get awkward really
Again,
quick. Yeah. Even though it's like
absolutely.
you because you're going to make concessions you don't normally, let's be honest, that you wouldn't normally do.
No,
You know,
yeah, you wouldn't. You wouldn't at all.
you have to take all these other things into consideration that normally are not part of the scenario at all. And
Mm,
that gets risky, you know?
yeah,
So, yeah.
for everything, not
Mhm.
just like not just the relationship between you and the other person, but also for the business. Like
Mhm.
businesses go under from situations like this.
Mhm. Mm. And then there could be like, what about the scenario that, like, when it becomes to a betrayal? Not that you would do this, but you take the photograph job with me, right? And you're producing from the channel. You ask me for extra time off because you got a delay because of uni or whatever, and then I find out that you did work for another channel instead during that time,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, that kind of a betrayal, like that's the kind of stuff that would take some
that would
perseverance
just
to
straight
deal
up
with.
ruin a relationship, a friendship, everything.
Hmm. But, you know, some friends, and I'm not saying everybody, but some people would say, because we're friends, that I should understand that it was too good an opportunity for you to refuse to get the cash money. These deals don't come along all the way. It was a quick deal. I forgot to run it by you. It wasn't, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Where in business, it's just a straight up betrayal. Straight
Mm.
up. Like, it's like, no, you know.
And that's and you actually just mentioned something. Communication tends to be more implied in friendship type business ventures.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is the habit of, I've seen it before. I've seen I had a friend of mine who went into business with a friend of his, and his friend made a whole bunch of decisions because he thought um that's how he would want it. That's how
Mm-hmm.
my friend would want it, and it wasn't at all. And that it ended messy. It ended very messy.
Yeah, you bring up like that's a total different dynamic. Like, here's the thing: in the same situation about you being the photographer, as my friend giving you the time, that would, to me, wasn't just a business decision. That was friend to friend understanding what you needed and going along with it, right? So,
Mm,
and there was communication there. So then, if you went and took another job during that time instead of like working for me, right?
Mm.
To me, that would be a betrayal. But in business, I wouldn't even have been entitled to that communication. You just would have said you needed more time. I would have made a business decision, yes or no, to give it to you. And I wouldn't have had any say in what you did with that time off, would I?
No, exactly.
But as your friend, having you tell me it was for uni and then finding out it was for something else, that's different, isn't it? Like, that's
Yeah,
different. So
exactly.
you're right. As a friend, you expect more communication.
Mm.
Definitely more communication. You shouldn't make any assumptions. Oh, more communication is actually necessary, because there's that like emotional part. But like if it was just straight business, I wouldn't have even been entitled once I made the decision for you to have the extra time off. I would have had no say what you did with it.
No, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just yeah. All right, let's finish this slide.
Yep.
We'll turn this into a
So
5-hour stream.
yeah. So friendships can become unbalanced when favors or rewards are involved, spawning resentment and expectations, which is true.
Mhm. Yeah.
Enemies, if converted, can be more loyal than friends because they have something to prove and expect no special treatment.
Mhm.
And that is a very good that is a very good benefit to working with someone who you're not emotionally invested with.
Mhm. And when we use
And
the word enemy, it's not really enemy. It's just somebody that's not personally invested in your goal. It could be a
mm,
competitor. It could be another creator or collaborator. It could just, we don't necessarily mean the word enemy, although they repeat it a lot in this chapter. And I think that's what set me off.
oh,
Like,
absolutely. And we actually see this. We actually see companies working with their quote unquote enemies all the time. Well, not
competitors.
literally see it, not
Right.
literally see it, but but it's it is very obvious that they are working together. Like for instance, if you take um Coke and Pepsi, let's take Coke and Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
They are there is no way that they don't have some sort of direct communication with each other. Um, it's very clear that they both work with each other to maintain their specific price, um, or at least like they stay within a certain price range of each other. They might occasionally one might make it slightly more expensive than the other, or one might make themselves slightly cheaper than the other.
Mm-hmm.
But there is you could definitely say that there is what is the saying? A formal conspiracy is not needed when interests converge.
Say that again. When interests converge, what's not needed?
A formal conspiracy is not needed when interests converge.
Ah, yes. Okay. True.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it is kind of conspiracy tinfoil hat me going while they're working together, but like they do. Businesses
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
I telecommunication, um let's be honest, they raise their prices crazy high. And for some reason, some very unexplained reason, they all maintain the same boundaries of each other. They all seem to stay within a very, very close margin
Mm-hmm.
of each other. So whether it's direct communication or indirect, like, hey, they raise their prices, or so we'll raise ours, or we raise our prices, so they'll lower theirs, so we'll lower ours, kind of thing. There's still it is still a kind of communication between quote unquote enemies.
And you also have employees going back and forth between each company.
Hmm.
You know, and you have joint ventures, like joint, you know, marketing strategies, conventions,
Hmm.
you know, big events and things like they so you end up working with them more, and it's not necessarily the word enemy. Like, I think that's what set my teeth on edge. They were just,
Yeah, it's not really. They're not really enemies. It's sort of
let's
a
say the
very
word,
crude way
yeah,
of
like,
putting of just saying
not having a social emotional relationship.
or yeah, or someone who you don't have the same sort of emotional relationship with.
Hmm. Because that's the difference between, you know, hiring a friend and hiring someone else, is the emotional component of almost every decision and every action that happens, right? Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
pretty much. All right, last one.
And the last one is, in the game of power, self-interest dominates loyalty. True alliances are based on shared interests, not sentimentality,
That's right, because
which,
these
as
are
we had already said, is true.
right. Because this is the game of power, in not
Hmm.
just the game of power, but the of accomplishment, of moving forward leadership. Like, in the game, when they say the game of power, we're going to apply it simply to any goal oriented structure that you've got going on. You know, um,
We should make sure it's very clear. In this situation, we're talking about business ventures
mhm.
and and very specifically goal orientated things, not your social life.
Like you attending university, you get along with a lot of your students in your class and everything like that. Some of them are you're friendly, but are they like the bitch? Are you going to like disrupt your studies for a lot of stuff with them? You know, stuff like that. Like
No,
there's
yeah,
purpose. Like sometimes you have purposeful relationships that are friendly, but they're not. You're not exactly like diehard friends. You know, from things to things.
no,
Because
yeah,
what is happening in your university classroom is you all have a goal oriented. You're all on the same goal oriented path. Okay, you come
exactly.
from all different walks of life. You're all different and individual, but it's a limited parameter of a shared interest at the time. You know,
Mm,
that's not to mention that you don't make friends in university that carry on outside of university, but in that actual environment in the classroom, I'm talking about. You know,
yeah.
in yeah. So when it comes to like sharing homework and trusting answers and things like that, it's just like, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Make sure you always check your work and make
Yeah.
sure you always check your friend's work when you get it given to you.
Yeah. So,
Not that I ever took any of my friends' work. It's all done by me.
hmm,
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's all rewritten by him, guaranteed.
Exactly.
Anyway, oh, here I'm going to stick you on the again with reading the first part of the historical example from the book, and this is the transgression of the law. This is like, well, how when you don't follow the law, this is what happens. The transgression of
Yes.
the law.
This
Yeah.
is what can happen. Probably not so
Mhm.
much nowadays, but I guess depending on what your what your area of work is, it may
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah. And so when you read through that, you're going to read the interpretation too.
I can read the interpretation to you. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, and so that'll go to, okay.
Okay. So, transgression of the law. In the mid-9th century AD, a young man named Michael III assumed the throne of the Byzantine Empire. His mother, Empress Theodora, had been banished to a nunnery, and her lover, Theotitus, had been murdered. At the head of the conspiracy to depose Theodora and enthrone Michael had been Michael's uncle, Bardas, a man of intelligence and ambition. Michael was now a young, inexperienced ruler, surrounded by intriguers, murderers, and profligates. In this time of peril, he needed someone he could trust as his counselor, and his thoughts turned to Basilius, his best friend. Basilius had no experience whatsoever in government and politics. In fact, he was the head of the royal stables, but he had proven his love and gratitude time and time again. They had met a few years before when Michael had been visiting the stables. Just as a wild horse got loose. Basilius, a young groom from peasant Macedonian stock, had saved Michael's life. The groom's strength and courage had impressed Michael, who immediately raised Basilius from the obscurity of being a horse trainer to the position of head of the stables. He loaded his friend with gifts and favors, and they became inseparable. Basilius was sent to the finest school in Byzantine, and the crude peasant became a cultured and sophisticated courtier. Now Michael was emperor and in need of someone loyal. Who could he better trust with the post of chamberlain and chief counselor than a young man who owed him everything? Basilius could be trained for the job, and Michael loved him like a brother. Ignoring the advice of those who recommended the much more qualified Bardus, Michael chose his friend. Basilius learned well and was soon advising the emperor on all matters of state. The only problem seemed to be money. Basilius never had enough. Exposure to the splendor of Byzantine court life made him avaricious for the perks of power. Michael doubled, then tripled his salary, ennobled him, and married him off to his own mistress, Eudoxia Ingrania. Keeping such a trusted friend and advisor satisfied was worth any price, but more trouble was to come. Bardus was now head of the army, and Basilius convinced Michael that the man was hopelessly ambitious. Under the illusion that he could control his nephew, Bardus had conspired to put him on the throne, and he could conspire again, this time to get rid of Michael and assume the crown himself. Basilius poured poison into Michael's ear until the emperor agreed to have his uncle murdered. During a great horse race, Basilius closed in on Bardus, and in the crowd and stable, and in a crowd, he stabbed him to death. Soon after, Basilius asked that he replace Bardus as head of the army, where he could keep control of the realm and quell rebellion. Soon after, Basilius asked that he replace Bardus as head of the army, where he could keep control of the realm and quell rebellion. This was granted. Now Basilius's power and wealth only grew, and a few years later, Michael, in financial straits from his own extravagance, asked him to pay back some of the money he had borrowed over the years. To Michael's shock and astonishment, Basilius refused, with a look of such impudence that the emperor suddenly realized his predicament. The former stable boy had more money, more allies in the army and senate, and in the end, more power than the emperor himself. A few weeks later, after a night of heavy drinking, Michael awoke to find himself surrounded by soldiers. Basilius watched as they stabbed the emperor to death. Then, after proclaiming himself emperor, he rode his horse through the streets of Byzantium, brandishing the head of his former benefactor and best friend at the end of a long pike.
Whoa.
Grisly end.
They talk about betrayal. Like, talk about ungrateful. Man.
I know, right?
But it's power. Like, these kings and, the strive for power. I mean,
It is. And
Michael pretty much created the monster.
Very much so. He very much created. He took a chance, and this is a really good that's a really good example of what can happen if you trust someone who is that close to you,
It's
who you care about that much.
it's yeah. We'll see in the interpretation as you read. It pretty much goes over all the keys, like of
Hmm.
having blinders on, of just making assumptions, of like
Hmm.
go overboard. Like wow. Anyway,
So the interpretation: Michael III staked his future on the sense of gratitude he thought Basilius must feel for him. Surely Basilius would serve him best. He owed the emperor his wealth, his education, and his position. Then once Basilius was in power, anything he and yeah, then once Basilius was in power, anything he needed was best to give to him, strengthening the bond between the two men. It was only on the fateful day when the emperor saw the impudent smile of Basilius's face that he realized his deadly mistake. He had created a monster. He had allowed a man to see power up close, a man who then wanted more, who asked for anything and got it, who felt encumbered by the charity he had received and simply did what many people do in such a situation. They forget the favor they have received and imagine they have earned their success by their own merits. At, at Michael's moment of realization, he could still save his own life, but friendship and love blind every man to their interests. Nobody believes a friend can betray, and Michael went on disbelieving until the day his head ended up on a pike.
wow.
Hmm.
They
And
say
there's a little quote from, well,
Voltaire.
is Voltaire.
Voltaire.
Lord, protect me from my friends. I can take care of my enemies.
I'll say, like they. And so basically, the historical example just shows us that he had blinders on. Like he just thought that he would be
Hmm.
loyal to him, but what he did was just all of the favors he gave him, all of the not second guessing and the training and all. He just built resentment because now this
Hmm.
person rather felt they were entitled to everything. It wasn't given to them, and there's no loyalty. They just chipped away at the relationship, and Michael didn't realize. This guy was like, "Why are you emperor and not me?" Like
Hmm.
he didn't want to feel beholden to him. Some people will. The more that you help them out, will have that resentment just because it makes them feel a little less than, and so they'll
Yeah.
do anything to destroy you at the top or the position. I've heard multiple stories, and unfortunately, being victim of people that you're kind to, you give a leg up to, you try to help them out, and then because then they feel guilty about it, they're out there stabbing you in the back with all kinds of nastiness and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And
Or they
yeah,
could just be playing you.
yeah, exactly.
I've been
And
in situations where someone's played me. It sucks,
it totally
but
does.
you learn from it.
Yeah. Hopefully it moves you forward, like personal growth wise. But on the other hand,
Exactly.
it can, you got to be careful because it can make you very bitter.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
that word trust comes up again, and then you become very untrusting of even those that are worthy of trust. Like,
Hmm.
you know, it does take an amount of trust to move through this world. It does. Uh, Without it, it becomes very, very difficult.
Hmm.
So, let's see what else they have to offer us. Oh, the positive example. Okay, that would be me then, huh? Let's see.
Hmm.
If I can get, let me see if I can get my voice on. So, for the positive example, observance of this part of the law. For several centuries after the fall of the Han Dynasty, AD 222, Chinese history followed the same patterns of violent and bloody coups, one after the other. Army men would plot to kill a weak emperor, then would replace him on the dragon throne with a strong general. the general would start a new dynasty and crown himself emperor to ensure his own survival. He would kill off his fellow generals. A few years later, however, the pattern would resume. New generals would rise up and, and assassinate him or his sons in their turn. It was the least powerful, least secure position in the realm. In AD 959, General Chao Kuang-ying became Emperor Song. He knew the odds, the probability that within a year or two he would be murdered. How could he break the pattern? Soon after becoming emperor, Song ordered a banquet to celebrate the new dynasty and invited the most powerful commanders in the army. After they had drunk much wine, he dismissed the guards and everybody else except the generals, who now feared he would murder them in one fell swoop. Instead, he addressed them, and I quote, "The whole day is spent in fear, and I am unhappy both at the table and in my bed. For which one of you does not dream of ascending the throne? I do not doubt your allegiance, but if by some chance your subordinates seeking wealth and position were to force the emperor's yellow robe upon you in turn, how could you refuse it?" Drunk and fearing for their lives, the generals proclaimed their innocence and their loyalty, but Sung had other ideas. The best way to pass one's days in a peaceful enjoyment of riches and honors, if you are willing to give up your commands, I am ready to provide you with fine estates and beautiful dwellings where you may take your pleasure with singers and girls as your companions. The astonished generals realized that instead of a life of anxiety and struggle, Song was offering them riches and security. The next day, all of the generals tendered their resignations, and they retired as nobles to the estates that Sung bestowed on them. In one stroke, Sung turned a pack of friendly wolves, who would likely have betrayed him, into a group of docile lambs, far from all power. Over the next few years, Sung continued his campaign to secure his rule. In AD 971, King Lu of the Southern Han finally surrendered to him after years of rebellion. To Lu's astonishment, Song gave him a rank in the imperial court and invited him to the palace to seal their newfound friendship with wine. As King Lu took the glass that Song offered him, he hesitated, fearing it contained poison. "Your subjects' crimes certainly merit death," he cried out, "but I beg your majesty to spare your subject's life. Indeed, I dare not drink this wine." Emperor Song laughed, took the glass from Lu, and swallowed it himself. There was no poison. From then on, Lu became his most trusted and loyal friend. At the time, China had splintered into many smaller kingdoms. When Shangshu, the king of one of these, was defeated, Song's ministers advised the emperor to lock this rebel up. They presented documents proving that he was still conspiring to kill Song. When Xiangshu came to visit the emperor, however, instead of locking him up, Song honored him. He also gave him a package, which he told the former king to open when he was halfway home. Xiangshu opened the bundle on his return journey and saw that it contained all the papers documenting his conspiracy. He realized that Song knew of his murderous plots, yet he had spared him nonetheless. This generosity won him over, and he too became one of Song's most loyal vassals. This one was it's clever, very, very clever. So the interpretation for the book is that a Chinese proverb compares friends to the jaws and teeth of a dangerous animal. If you're not careful, you will find them chewing you up. Emperor Song knew the jaws he was passing between when he assumed the throne. His friends in the army would chew him up like meat, and if he somehow survived, his friends in the government would have him for supper. Emperor Song would have no truck with friends. He bribed his fellow generals with splendid estates and kept them far away. This was a much better way to emasculate them than killing them, which would only have led other generals to seek vengeance. And Sung would have nothing to do with friendly ministers. More often than not, he would end up drinking his famous cup of poisoned wine. Instead of relying on friends, Sung used his enemies, one after the other, transforming them into far more reliable subjects. While a friend expects more and more favors and sees with jealousy, these former enemies expected nothing and got everything. A man suddenly spared the guillotine is a grateful man indeed, and will go to the ends of earth for the man who has pardoned him. In time, these former enemies became Sung's most trusted friends, and Sung was finally able to break the pattern of coups, violence, and civil war. The Song dynasty ruled China for more than 300 years.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. And to bring it to more of an American sentiment, in a speech Abraham Lincoln delivered at the height of the Civil War, he referred to Southerners as fellow human beings who were in error. And an elderly lady chastised him for not calling them irreconcilable enemies who must be destroyed. Why, madam, Lincoln replied, do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? And it kind of makes sense. Like, why keep treating them like you're still at war, right? Like,
Yeah. It's sort of is similar to the idea that you probably have more in common with your enemy than you have difference.
Right. And if you look for those commonalities and those common goals in moving forward, then you're moving forward. But if you're looking for the differences, they hold you back. You become stagnant or
Absolutely.
go backwards. Yeah. And isn't the goal in gathering your own personal power or power in business or in any enterprise is to move forward at all times? Like, keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those were two different, very, very different stories.
Yes.
Both about emperors, though, which like they had a lot. At least it was apples to apples. If their styles were different, they were both in the same situation, though. They were in a
Yes, they were.
tumultuous situation as emperor, with everybody looking to topple them down, to replace them. You know, I can't even imagine.
It would. I would never want to be in that position.
No.
Like the idea that, like, no matter what, you're in a position where death is it's there.
It's gonna happen. Just wait.
It's not an if I'm going to get killed. It's a when am I going to get killed and how am I going to get killed.
Yeah. And by who? Yeah, like,
And by who, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the yeah. Oh boy.
The level of distrust I'd never want to be in.
Okay, so from the book, this is a little hard to read there. Do you want to try to do one? And can you see how it is? Like, I could not like put it without taking a screenshot because I couldn't do the spacing. It was getting very weird.
The jaws of ingratitude, knowing what would happen if you put a finger in the mouth of a lion, you would stay clear of it. With friends, you will have no such caution, and if you hire them, they will eat you alive with ingratitude. Authority. Know how to use enemies for your own profit. You must learn to grab a sword not by its blade, which would cut you, but by the handle, which allows you to defend yourself. The wise man profits more from his enemies than a fool from his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Baltazar Gracian.
Balthazar. Yeah.
Baltazar Gracian.
Well, it's an old one. But
Mm-hmm.
notice how they made that fit together. Like
Mm,
they are like the opposites. It's like two sides of the coin or the key in the lock. The
mm,
dealing with a friend in actually trying to keep your eyes open in not becoming like placated into not actually seeing what's going on versus always being vigilant because this other person, you're not as trustworthy because they come from the opposite side. You don't know them as well. So you're more alert in everything. And it actually strengthens you because you keep your eye on the situation. And I think
exactly.
in simple terms, it's like the basis of the whole chapter that to trust in your friends without diligence is makes you weaker, and
It can definitely, it
to
will.
trust an enemy with great diligence makes you stronger. So it's all about paying attention to the subtle signs and what's going on and keeping from the 50th law, keeping your eye on the
Mm,
prize, the reality of the situation, reading the room, knowing what's going on,
yes.
really paying attention. We kind of slack off for our friends. We think we know. Like, oh
Yep.
no, that's Rekkr. He would never do that, right? Oh, that's Mrs.
Yeah.
C. She'd never do that. Like, that's my friend, my Mippet. She'd never do that, right? But then it's like, the bot viewer on the other side, you're like, yeah, yeah. Well, maybe they would.
We know what you're doing. We see
We see
you.
what you're doing. We see you, right? Yeah. Because you
I
have all this
guess,
history.
I guess in a way, a good way to put it is that when you trust a friend, it's generally it often is blind. It's often blind trust. But when you trust an enemy, it is very methodical and intentional. There is thought that goes into it.
There is. It also comes down to human nature. All individuals are multifaceted. And in our friendships, I see a part of you on those facets that I deal with on a regular basis. But perhaps I've never dealt with you in an employment type situation. So I really can't expect what you're like that.
Mm,
After work, you're this, I know this about you, I know that about you, but I've never dealt with you one on one in an employment basis. Like you might have told me stories about things you did or how bad your boss is or whatever. But then I hire you and I find out, well, maybe the boss was like that with you because you are 15 minutes late every damn day. Or something
yeah,
like that,
perfectly on time, 15 minutes late.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
there might be, and then all of a sudden there's like all these reasons, the stories you used to tell me about work or this, that, or anything, and you're like, they have a different meaning now. Like they have a different
yep.
edge to them. It's just like because we don't know that part of you, that side of you. We think we do because we're such good friends, right? We think we know everything about you, but no, we don't.
Mm,
Not until you're in
no.
that situation or you're doing it. It's like we might have different ideas on how to set a profit margin or whether it's long term or short term. You know,
Mm,
you might want to ride a trend and make an 80% profit. And I would rather a 5-year trend at 50 because I'm actually going to make more money in the long run. But then trying to explain that back and forth because they're totally different mindsets. I'm thinking you'll just agree with me because like I'm good at business and you're my friend and you know that. Like, so you should just
mhm,
agree with me, right?
exactly.
But then I hire you to do finance or whatever, and you're gonna be like, nope, we need the money. We're doing this now. And I'm like, what? Wait, like, well, no, you're supposed to be on my side. What's this? Like, I didn't hire you to be the opposition. Like, so it's like,
Mm,
it can get really messy. You just because you
yep.
think your friends are always going to back you up, and they should. I mean, friends do. It's a great support system, but it's an emotional support system outside of goal-oriented business deals or power struggles in accomplishment deals. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. I
it,
think
it
I think a good way of actually knowing whether or not a friend would be a good fit for working with is you describe an MLM to them and ask them how whether or not that would be a good
Mhm.
idea.
Nope, there are degrees of trust, exactly. Yep.
There are degrees of trust.
No, but
Yeah,
you're with them. Yep.
describe an MLM to your friend. If they think that it's a good idea, just don't work with them. Save yourself the pain and heartache. Don't don't
I
just
do not
don't.
have. I have to say, like, I do not have a litmus test for working with family and friends when I was in business. I did own my own business for a little while. It. I would give them odd jobs here and there, but I had like stuff that didn't actually, affect my business greatly. Well, yeah, it did actually. A brother who was hired to deliver the we what I did is I did books in accounting uh offsite. So there's a lot of pick up and drop off of documents and stuff like that, in time frames and things like that. And when at one time I did hire my brother to do some of that, what we would call just the traveling back and forth, and he was always late. He was always late. I had to fire my own brother.
Whew.
How long do you think it took before I fired my own brother?
Hmm. 2 weeks.
3 days.
Oh, damn.
Because I overcompensated. I said, listen here, you're taking advantage, son of a bitch. Like, I just hired you and you're making me look bad. And that ain't happening. And boom, out he went. Like, I overreacted. 3 days. Didn't even give him a second shot. And I should have. If it was anybody else, they would have got a talking to. I would have gave them another week to see if they straightened out. Right? But no, because it was my brother and he should know better. He was boom, you're out. Get out
Well,
of here.
to be fair though, I think if you are going to go any way with dealing with family or friends in a business, going the harsher way would always be better than
Yeah,
taking
but
the
it's not
softer approach.
fair. In business relations, he was an employee and he deserved me to treat him better than that. And I know that. Okay, that's why I was saying before, you can actually, when you hire friends and family, you have an emotional, personal relationship with them, you can actually be harder on them and actually unfair to them because of how situations look, and you overcompensate. Yeah, and I did.
Oh, absolutely.
I realize that now, and I'll probably never hire anybody. I mean, but I shouldn't say that, because here, even in my hobby, I am working with friends and collaborator, all kind of people from all over, and some of them are friends,
Hmm.
and so I can't say I wouldn't work with friends and family again, but you have to be conscious of how you're doing it, and
Yes.
and what's going on, and there's got to be, like you said before, a lot of communication.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Clear communication.
Claire or clear? What? Every time you say clear in your Kiwi accent, it sounds like you're saying my name. I love it. It's like it's like you're the best advertisement for my channel, Clairview, because it's like
Yep.
Clearview, like it's a play on words. Like, yeah.
Hmm.
Like, okay. Do you want to read the reversal? It's tiny. Can you see it? Okay. Like, I don't know.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, is it big enough on your big monitor? Oh, you got the big
Yep,
monitor. Yeah.
it is. Although it is generally best not to mix work with friendship, there are times when a friend can be used to great effect than an enemy. A man of power, for example, often has dirty work that has to be done, but for the sake of appearances, it is generally preferable to have other people do it for him. Friends often do this the best, since their affection for him makes them willing to take chances. Also, if your plans go awry for some reason, you can use a friend as a convenient scapegoat. This fall of the favorite was a trick often used by kings and sovereigns. They would let their closest friend at court take the fall for a mistake, since the public would not believe that they would deliberately sacrifice a friend for such a purpose. Of course, after you play that card, you have lost your friend forever. It is best, then, to reserve the scapegoat role for someone who is close to you, but not too close. Finally, the problem about working with friends is that it confuses the boundaries and distance that working requires. But if both partners in the arrangement understand the dangers involved, a friend often can be employed to great effect. You must never let your guard down in such a venture, however. Always be on the lookout for any signs of emotional disturbance, such as envy or an ingratitude. Nothing is stable in the realms of power, and even the closest of friends can transform into the worst of enemies.
Mm-hmm. Because that's just the thing. If your goals are not aligned, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like if your friend has a goal of being part of a successful business enterprise in knowing their place in it, then great. But if your friend is aligned to the goal of being the best at everything and having, like, being at the top of the heap, being in control, they're probably not best suited to work with you on that goal. You're not aligned,
Nope.
you know. So it takes a lot to figure out like where people are coming from. And unfortunately, when it comes to friendships, sometimes friends are more concerned about each other's feelings than direct, honest, cold, hard facts and truth. They may not tell you
Exactly.
what their actual goal is. You know, some people
Mm-hmm.
believe you should, that you don't tell everybody everything that's going on because then they can use it against you. And it's not that they're trying to keep things from you or hurt you in any way. It's just, they're working on their goal and you may not know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Not always. It depends on the relationship. Well, like Mippy said, trust comes in different levels all over. So do friendships. Friendships are to all different degrees, right? And,
Exactly.
and I think it's just like, I don't like the wording when the fall of the favorite, like make your friend the scapegoat and go ahead and lose your friend forever. Like, to me, that's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to get myself in that position, okay? Because I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? So I don't like the
Yeah.
language. I don't like the language they're using in this chapter. Like, to me,
No,
like,
they're using rather crude language
mhm,
for what they're trying to portray.
exactly. I find myself trying uh, to buffer it a lot. Yeah. So
Mm.
basically, what we learned so far in Law 2, key points, is that friends can become envious or resentful if you rise above them, leading to betrayal or sabotage. Okay. You don't not you often do not truly know your friends' motives because people hide negative feelings to preserve the relationship. They might be feeling a certain way, but they're not going to tell you because they don't want to upset you. They don't want to damage the relationship. Employing or partnering with friends can disrupt the balance as your kindness can feel patronizing or create a sense of obligation, making them uneasy or resentful. Enemies, when turned into allies, may become fiercely loyal because they want to prove themselves and have no sense of entitlement. They're a little more grateful for what you give them because it's unexpected. It's sometimes useful to create enemies since public opposition can rally support, clarify alliances, and strengthen your position. It does help you know where you're coming from, I think.
Yes.
Mm.
I think as bad as as weird as it seems, um, work having a, I guess, coworker or someone who you're working with as an enemy is is much easier to deal with than having a friend, and it is much more advantageous in the long run
Mm-hmm.
because there's not that expectation of there's more of an expectation of betrayal than there would be with a friend, because with an enemy it's like, oh yeah, i I kind of figured you would do that at some point. I'm not surprised, and I've actually planned for that, so you can't really ruin me. But with a friend, you take bigger risks. You might spend a little bit more on a particular thing that you should be not spending more money on just because you think your friend's going to step up.
Mm. And it's disappointing if they don't. Yeah.
Mm. And it's
Yeah.
much more disappointing,
Mm-hmm.
much more disappointing if they let you down.
Yeah. Mm. And that's why the last part, reserve your trust and judge people by their actions, not their words or past relationships. And this is situational. We're not talking like personal one-on-one relationships, just situational
Mm.
to trying in goal-oriented situations. That's what we're talking about, like business, clubs, group organizations, like that. YouTube channels.
Mm.
So I have not seen a successful joint venture on a YouTube channel where people are like co-owners of the channel. Like I have seen plenty limited focused ones, like the one we have for a series, right?
Mm.
But it takes a lot of work, right? And the communication back and forth
Mm.
all the time, and you have to have a clear onset of um what the goal is. You know,
Yep.
you want to take the next slide.
Yep. Modern life relationships and correlation. Workplace dynamic. Hiring or promoting friends can backfire. Personal relationships easily sour over business disagreements or competitive advancement. Resentment often arises if a friend senses favoritism or burden from your expectations.
Mm.
Like as we said before, networking. Converting professional rivals or critics into collaborators can build strong, productive alliances. Former adversaries may prove their loyalty more thoroughly to overcome the stigma of their past opposition.
Mm.
Boundaries and objectivity. In leadership, it is wise to separate personal affection from business acumen. Trust should be earned based on competence, reliability, and aligned interests, not just familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
Strategic relationships. Even in personal circles, understanding that emotional bonds do not always predict loyalty or support encourage more measured, realistic interactions.
And that's true because like my brother did not understand how showing up late to clients or picking stuff up or dropping stuff off late, how it made the company look. He didn't understand that at all. He's like, it's 30 minutes. Like, what's the big deal? Like, you know what I mean? He did not notice, like, he was not invested in what the company looked like or what the
Mm.
mission of the company or the interaction with the clients. To him, he was a driver, and it was like just a small cog in the works, and it didn't really matter to anything. Well, to
Mm.
me, every cog in the works matters because I'm a business owner and I have to have a certain a look to the business and a certain dependability. They have to be able to trust us,
Exactly.
and he didn't get that, and he was just upset. Like, and I just figured he would because he's my brother. Like he wouldn't make me, look bad. But anyway, but it much different scenario. Okay, so real world example. Companies often witness founders falling out when personal friendship gets entangled with business disputes. How many businesses do you know that started out with two friends, and in the end they're successful for a really long time, but in the end they just changed the way they're doing stuff in the end of a big dispute? Ben and Jerry's, how about that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Some other
There's
companies,
been a few YouTube channels, like as you said before. There's
I
been a
don't.
few
Yeah.
YouTube channels that have been like, you find out that one of them has been skimming the top, or one of them's been super tyrannical and manipulating.
Or they take over. One takes over from the other one, or whatever. And I think they, like, all of those stories really helped me make this decision when I came out with my channel, that it would always be my channel, that I would collaborate with everyone and anyone. And I work with you on a whole series that's for both of us. We own it together, right? You put it on your channel if you want. Like, you tell me you don't want it up anymore, and I take it down. And anybody who knows me knows I've always worked like that. Especially on a series that I've got what I call a co-collaborator or a co-panelist, like this, where we're doing it through the whole thing, all the way through. Not necessarily the freelance live panel shows, like, Mayhem or What the F. That was a group of people, and if somebody wasn't happy with something, I might edit it or make a decision, but I'm not taking the whole thing down, for one person on a panel. But this kind of stuff, where you're collaborating on a series that you're working on together, it's important. Or like an interview series that I've done in the past with others. I would take them there. I've done plenty of library chats with people and on topic conversations. And I look at it as working like together on it. They have control in that situation, but they don't have control over the whole channel. Like, no, ever. Like, no, I don't know if I could work like that. Like, I've not seen anyone successful at it. I've watched marriages break up, relationships, friends, they just, like, look at frenemies, like, look at, like, Ethan Klein and Hassan. Or Destiny and anybody. Like, or like, I just, and there's so many, especially like in the atheist community, like there's been so many talk shows with hosts that were together and then they break up, and it's like a mess. It's just a mess. And they're friends, and then are they friends afterwards?
More often than not, no.
Well, if you follow the Hassan Ethan wrote, nope, they don't look like friends to me.
Yeah.
They don't look like friends to me anymore. Well, yeah. Exactly, Meepy. Are you talking about my brother? Because, yeah, if it didn't matter, why would I pay him to do it? That was my attitude. Like, yep. Well, I was, Mrs. Cassandra. I was very, very strict with him. Like, it was a little unfair, but he just wasn't good at it. Okay.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes.
So now we're going to get into my favorite part, is how we just take the book to a different direction than Robert Greene did. Robert Greene tried to get me all upset with the don't trust people like this. You could trust an enemy better than a friend. Just like, that's just how it is. Friends are out to deceive you. It's going to hurt you. They're going to betray you. And an enemy, at least you know what you're dealing with. And I get that. But now we get to how Law 2 challenges traditional trust. Because trust is a word that I find sacred. Like, it's a big thing for me. Let's do this. Let's do this one every other one. I'll let you do one, and then I'll do 2, 3. As they go forward.
Okay. You want me to do this one?
This is one. Yeah.
Okay. How Law 2 challenges traditional trust. Questioning loyalty in friendships. Traditional wisdom suggests that friends are inherently more trustworthy and loyal than others. Law 2 disputes this by arguing that familiarity, familiarity breeds complacency or resentment. Friends may feel entitled, jealous, or threatened by your success, making them more likely to betray or undermine you, intentionally or not. Emotional blindness, personal.
Oh, sorry.
She's undermining my reading.
Didn't mean to. I dropped something on the keyboard. Go ahead, carry on.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm
Making them more likely to betray or undermine you, intentionally or not. Emotional blindness. Personal ties can cloud judgment, preventing leaders from seeing hidden weaknesses or ambitions in their friends. Danger of mixing personal and professional. Relying on friends and businesses or leadership can disrupt objectivity, leading to favoritism or imprudent decisions. And they do. The like we were talking about before, it really having that kind of there is a much higher tendency for complacency with friends, and just peripheral blindness.
Nope, absolutely. I think they do a good job of just questioning the whole loyalty issue, and that's what kind of set me off, I think. About the whole. Yeah. Okay, so for number 2, it redefining trust in leadership. Conventional leadership values emphasize trust building and loyalty, especially with close allies. Law 2 instead suggests that enemies may make better allies. Former rivals are often more motivated to prove their loyalty if given a chance, since they have no expectations of special treatment and want to overcome their past. Rewarding friends breeds entitlement. Overly trusting or promoting friends based on the relationship and not merit can breed entitlement, resentment, and disloyalty when expectations aren't met. Effective leaders use strategic distance, maintaining some objectivity in boundaries, even with friends, and can help leaders assess situations more clearly and make impartial decisions. And that's the key right there. It's not that you can't work with your friends. You have to have a strategy to stay impartial and objective.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that, it could be quite rewarding. I mean, who wouldn't want to work in a friendly environment and see smiling faces and feel the support of people that actually know you and are united with you in a goal? Like, that's great and rewarding, and we all want it, right? But you gotta,
Exactly.
if you're in that leadership role, you definitely have to make sure the blinders aren't on. This one's you.
3. Encouraging pragmatism over sentimentality. Law 2 advocates for a pragmatic, results-oriented approach to choosing who to trust. Assess trustworthiness by actions, not relationships or words. Shared interests matter more than shared history for stable alliances. Loyalty built on mutual benefits tends to be more durable than loyalty based on emotion alone.
And that's the key. That could be,
Yep.
and that goes for a frenemy, a friend, an ally, an enemy or competition, anyone. It's not, it's it doesn't matter the shared history of what's going on. It's the shared interests. How many times do people that were actually going head to head in competitions against each other will align on a new deal that is profitable for the both of them at the end, even though they just spent maybe years trying to one up each other? People form alliances for the greater good all the time, as long as it's something they get mutual benefit from. In America, that means making money. You know,
Exactly.
business can make strange bedfellows out of people. Like you'll see the oddest people coming together, but it will be over a common goal or mutual benefit. And at that point, you put just a little trust into the situation, but you got to keep your eyes open anyway. I agree with this one.
Mhm.
Basically, assessing trustworthiness is the part that's important in all situations. Now, we're not talking relationships with your friends, we're talking the situation with your friend. How much trust you can put on your friend for that particular situation, be it a business adventure, a group endeavor that you're doing, uh, of that nature. You have to reassess it. They might be
Mhm.
great at being your friend, they might be really bad at being a coworker.
You can say that again.
How Law 2 challenges traditional trust. Number 4, correlating to modern life. In workplaces, reliance on friends often leads to complications and can undermine authority. I don't care who it is. If you hire friends or family and you're the boss, people are starting to look at you side eyed immediately. They're going to be judging
Mhm.
you. They're going to be accusing you of favoritism, even when you're not doing it. It's going to cloud all of your decisions. It's going to make you work harder to figure out the right thing to do every time. It is going to complicate things and make it messy, undoubtedly, unless you work really, really hard ahead of time to make it not. And still, you'll have to work really hard every day you're in that position so that it doesn't get compromised. It's just not a good idea.
Mhm.
Leaders today are frequently advised to include diverse perspectives, including former critics, instead of only those nearest and dearest, to avoid echo chambers and groupthink. And that's valid. Nobody wants an echo chamber. I don't want to be surrounded in a business venture by people who only yes me to death. I want interaction. I want their ideas, their opinions. I want information. I don't want yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. I don't want that. You know.
I think there is a lot of people in high positions that tend to uh who do fail at that part of business, who
Mhm.
generally only keeps yes men around them. I mean, there's one very
Prominent.
orange example.
Well, then you're destined just to become a meme. Like, and I don't want to be a meme. I don't want to be a meme.
Wrong.
Okay.
I didn't mean you.
No, I know you meant the orange one. It's the running the
Yeah,
government
the other
right
orange one.
now. Don't ever refer to me as the orange one. Like, stop it. I wasn't referring to myself. I was just saying that person is definitely a meme. Would you not say that this whole thing
Oh,
is like
absolutely, 100%.
is producing hundreds of memes a day? Okay. What I was
It's
saying is I don't want to have an echo chamber or not have people contributing. I don't want to become a meme. Like I don't want
mm,
to no a
exactly.
joke, like a laughing stock. Like I don't think he hears what people are actually saying around him. But yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, he's not open to change. Yeah. People.
No, no. Well, maybe he might change from like Coke to Diet Coke, or Diet Coke to
Oh, he's
normal.
never drinking Diet Coke. Oh no. Look, get out of
Doesn't he?
here.
Wait, no, doesn't he drink Diet Coke? Doesn't
I
he
don't know.
actually have like an actual Diet Coke button?
I thought it was a
Like,
Coke button. I don't know. Maybe it's
or
Diet Coke.
It's
I don't know. I know.
this is a
I know the
question I need
meme
to
you're
answer
talking
now.
about. Yeah, because it's a meme with the big button on the disc. I know what you're talking about. I've seen the meme, but I don't know if it's true or not. But in
It's
summary,
actually one of the top. He did make change. From Times India. Donald Trump switches from Diet Coke to regular Coke.
oh, okay.
See, he is open to change, just not a productive change.
He went the other way. Hmm,
Yeah.
well, okay. So in summary, for how Law 2 challenges traditional trust, Law 2 disrupts the idealized view of friendship based trust in leadership by exposing how emotional closeness can obscure hidden risks. It contains that true loyalty is often forged from mutual self interest and earned over time, sometimes more reliably so with former adversaries than with lifelong friends. Mm.
Exactly.
And now we're going to make your head hurt.
Hmm. What are the key psychological impacts of trusting friends too much versus enemies strategically? Trusting friends unconditionally and, by contrast, trusting enemies strategically can have profound but different psychological impacts.
Okay. So we take this one at a time. The first one is the impacts on trusting friends too much. And these are psychological impacts, by the way. You get an increased risk, you have an increased risk of betrayal and disappointment. Over trusting friends can expose you to envy, disappointment, or even betrayal, especially if circumstances change, such as success, power shifts, or diverging interests. Emotional investment in friends may cloud judgment about their true intentions, leading to deeper hurt if trust is broken. You also have an impact of a loss of objectivity. Emotional closeness often makes it hard to objectively assess a friend's actions. This can cause individuals to ignore red flags and persist in unhealthy dynamics out of loyalty or denial. Erosion of self trust. When betrayed by friends, people may experience a lasting loss of self confidence and become hesitant to trust others again, leading to isolation or chronic suspicion. Sociability versus competence trade off. People who are seen as too trusting can be perceived as kind and moral, but not necessarily competent, leading to diminished respect in some group or settings. Emotional blindness. Personal ties can obscure facts, leading to poor decisions in professional or personal contexts if trust is based solely on affinity rather than merit or evidence. Never a good idea. And so you take the other side of the coin.
Yep. Key psychological impacts of trusting enemies strategically. Predictability and mutual benefits. Strategic trust with former adversaries often relies on clear mutual interests. Enemies may be more reliable in certain contexts because their motivations are explicit, and alliances are transactional rather than emotional, reducing unpredictability from hidden resentment or entitlement. Enhanced sense of control. Engaging with enemies can bolster a sense of control as individuals learn to manage perceived threats rather than avoid them. This process can increase self-esteem and lead to greater confidence in handling complex social situations. Improved self understanding and growth. Strategic alliances with former enemies can serve as powerful mirrors, helping individuals recognize and address their own weaknesses, improve negotiation skills, and foster resilience. And that is actually very true. A in some cases, an enemy in this instance will be more honest about your flaws than a friend will be.
Mhm.
Emotional detachment. Trusting enemies or working with them is often approached with more rationality and less emotional investment than friendships, which can promote clear thinking and careful risk assessment, and potential for stronger alliances. When an enemy is converted to an ally, they may work harder to prove their loyalty, as the relationship is based on tangible outcomes rather than sentiment.
Mhm. And it is true, but also could be true that a friend, if aligned with the same goal and was more invested in the outcome than the sentiment of working with you or working with a friend, could also be a very strong ally. But that would
Yes.
take clear direction. Do you know what I mean? I mean those
Plenty
type
of
of alliances.
communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So,
Fair communication.
mhm. So the modern life correlation of the psychological impacts are workplace and leadership. Hiring or promoting friends may introduce bias and the risk of betrayal, while including former competitors can build robust and objective teams. Many successful organizations leverage frenemies for innovation and balance, and that is like the shared challenge of being pushed outside your comfort zone with new ideas, challenging ideas to what you think is a good idea, having somebody tell you why it's not on a regular basis so that you either reaffirm why it is or you change it in some way.
Hmm.
It's very valuable to have people pushing back at you. Friends don't push back at you normally like that. They seem to have more trust that you know what the heck you're doing and you're going in the right direction, and they're not going to challenge you or one up you as much. You
No, they
probably
won't.
right. That's what they're talking about when they say enemy. It's not really an enemy. It's a competitor. It's a challenger. It is somebody not vested for you to like them that way, right? It's not going
Yes.
to change your relationship. They're more in making their points business wise or getting their opinions out there. And,
I I've to use my archery as a competition, I always find as an example, I always find that I shoot better when I'm shooting against someone who I'm in competition with.
mhm.
I always find that I am more focused.
Diligent and you're working towards a goal, you know.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, Resilience and adaptability. Learning to set boundaries with friends while negotiating with opponents builds adaptive, socially intelligent leaders. It is possible. You can have friends involved in all of your endeavors if that's how you want to do it. Well, like I said, you got to build those boundaries. You have to see, you have to have certain pockets to put things in, and you have to be on the same page. And that would go for the enemy and the friend. You know,
mm,
it's going to be more successful when you're all on the same page, working towards the same goals. Yeah. Personal
exactly.
growth. Mm. Personal growth. Those who those who process betrayal or disappointment, whether from friends or enemies, often emerge with stronger self-awareness and more nuanced approaches to trust and collaboration. It hurts. It sucks. Nobody likes it, but we all learn from it.
Hmm.
You and we're all part of it. You have to look at what part you portrayed in it. Instead of just playing victim, how did you contribute? What did you do? What did they do? What could you do better? What do you hope they did better? And why didn't you see it? And what should you have seen? You know, it, just you're gonna grow from it. They're all lessons
Exactly.
one way or another, right?
Hmm.
In the very last slide, do you want to do?
Yes. Summary table. Aspects: trusting friends too much, trusting enemies strategically. Emotional impact: high risk of disappointment and hurt. Uh, trusting enemies strategically, increase rationality and emotional distance.
Mm,
Predictability: trusting friends too much. Low. Emotions can cloud motives. Trusting enemies strategically. High. Motivations are explicit. Self-esteem.
So for predictability, that just means you're more often or not going to know what to expect from a trusted enemy rather than from your friend, because
Yes.
the motives are not clear. They're more clear with someone you're not emotionally attached to. It's interesting.
Yes. Self-esteem. Trusting friends too much. Can decrease after betrayal. Trusting enemies strategically. Often bolstered by learning and control. Social participation. Trusting friends too much. Perception, sorry.
Mhm.
Trusting friends too much. Seen as moral, but not always competent. Trusting enemies strategically. Seen as shrewd and pragmatic. And then personal growth, potential. Trusting friends too much. Stunted if betrayal leads to isolation. Trusting enemies strategically can increase via reflection and negotiation.
True.
Bottom line, trust in friends provides emotional comfort but entails unique psychological vulnerabilities. Strategic engagement with adversaries, by contrast, can strengthen resilience, insight, and self mastery if navigated with caution and clear boundaries.
That is that.
Mm-hmm. I guess I guess the in most cases when it comes to working with a friend or getting into a business venture with a friend, it's more advantageous to just basically see them as an enemy,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously not not the traditional sense of the term enemy, but like having that same cautiousness as if they were an enemy.
Yeah, but well, just to protect yourself, you
Yeah,
don't have emotional
to
connection.
protect yourself.
You're gonna move differently in
Of
this
course.
alliance or in this situation, whatever it be, business or some kind of group function or goal oriented of some nature. We
Mm,
just operate differently than with people we think we know so well. You know what I mean?
hmm.
Well, I guess chapter two is just trying to tell us, law two is just trying to tell us, like, don't be blinded. Like, even if you're working with your friend, treat them like they're not. You got to treat them like everybody else and look at them from that perspective of the goal, of the
Yes.
accomplishment. And and like it says, history doesn't matter, this and that. Yeah, you could trust them. Like, you probably trust them with your life. Well, that's not the same thing as trusting them to accomplish a goal that you're both working on. They still need the
Hmm.
skills, they still need the information, they still need to be moving in a certain way. In that, you're only going to see by their actions. You know, sometimes you got to test it out to see if it will. You know, I think
Exactly.
I think it's possible to work with friends.
Hmm.
Um, but it depends on the situation and the goals. It depends on the friends and the level of friendship and trust that's there. Um,
Exactly.
like, like I said, we all have different levels of friends. I have friends that, well, like, I know that I'm going to get a direct answer whether it hurts my feelings or not. I mean, you know, because but then again, I have others that I know that they're just like, they're my feel good friends. Like, they never want to upset me about anything.
Mm.
And that's okay. Friends are, they make life more pleasant on a daily
Hmm.
basis, don't they? I mean, our interactions with others like that. Um, but speaking of that, you're going to be going into a big competition soon. Yeah.
Yes, I will be. I am. It is. just a little under no, it'll be 2 weeks. Just under 2 weeks now before my big competition, my the indoor archery competition.
Yeah. And so I just dropped the link for the campaign for travel expenses and things like that. Just for those interested, I just want to make it available. I've got it on the back of my channel also with today's post. But you also decided to start uploading some commentary, didn't you?
Yes, I'm going to start putting these streams up on a separate channel that I have had sitting around for ages that I would be meaning to do stuff with, but never got around to it because I ended up being too lazy.
Well, I'm honored to be part of the first content hitting that channel. But it's called Love and Sin, and I just dropped the link for that channel on there. And I don't even think I subbed yet to that channel. Like, I better get there if I'm going to be number one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wait, like, oh no. Let's see if somebody beat me to it. I don't know.
Someone beat you to it.
Oh no, I just hit the button now. Somebody beat me as first. There's 3 now.
No.
I'm one of 3. It's okay. It can't always be first, right?
No.
That would be boring anyway if I was always like.
It would be.
Yeah, yeah, you beat me, Mippy. Congratulations. It is cute. Yeah. And Shill's trying to look innocent too over there. I'm so glad you all support. Like, we all should support each other that way. Well, the smaller channels and all. And I look forward to doing, like, we've got 46 more weeks of this. We just did 2 laws.
Yep.
Like, yeah. So far.
46? It's 40.
What? No, it's 48 laws.
Oh, yeah. Why did I think it was 42? Oh, because that's the number of life.
No, that is for our other project that you helped me with. Yes. Life, the universe, and everything. What's the answer? 42. Always the answer to everything. 42. So, I don't know.
Exactly.
But I don't know. You have any last thoughts about this chapter?
Well, I do wish they had made it more obvious that it's more talking about business sense and not like it, although that's more of a commentary on the whole book. But other than that, no, I think it's quite useful. I think it is I think keeping that kind of thing in mind is important in some cases.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you. It's not always like the way they write it. Sometimes I'm like, nah, this isn't good because I don't want to live my life that way. I don't want to be strictly all business all the time and attack everything like it's a power struggle and I got to be on top. You know what I mean? Like it's a dog eat dog like type situation. And so I'm always trying to balance it, but it becomes a little bit challenging, but I'm kind of enjoying the challenge. I feel like it's making me step up my game on trying to find redeeming things in the law itself and how the law could be used and in what situations, because I don't think you can use it in all situations.
No, it can't be used in all situations.
I don't think it's meant to be used in all situations, even though every situation we find ourselves in, every relationship we find ourselves has a power struggle of some type, a power imbalance and balance. I don't think it's meant for anything other than competitive power situations. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That makes me more comfortable about it, because then it all rings true. then you do have to, protect yourself. You can't be emotional in competitive power struggles of any type or
No,
situation.
you can't.
Mm-mm. You've got to be detached. You can't be thinking about, how well you know somebody or not. You have
Mm,
to situation, and so in that case, it makes me a little more comfortable about it. Because I can
yeah.
see why there's a lot of controversy about these books. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
seriously, this particular one is was removed from prisons because they took it so literally.
Hmm.
It was just like war. It's war. Everybody was engaging in power war constantly. Like just, it's kind of hard to move through life that way and be balanced, you know, happy. Well, that's our two hours.
Yeah, that is pretty much bang on 2 hours.
And we thought we wouldn't even fill an hour with a law. Look at us.
No, we were planning on actually doing two at a time.
I don't think that's happening.
No, no, there's no.
No.
We're not shortening this anymore.
I think it's
And,
because I had so much pushback on this law. Hopefully,
mm,
hopefully the next one doesn't send me into such a tizzy. We'll
yeah,
see.
there probably will be laws where we only take like maybe half an hour to an hour, but some of them, like this one, for instance, do need a little bit more explanation, do need a little bit more uh interpretation,
Yeah,
clear interpretation.
yes, and into how it relates now to everyday kind
Mm,
of situations, and not just like you said, those power struggle situations. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
how it applies in a social context.
mhm, absolutely. But yeah, because especially when you use examples like the orange one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a how not to apply this law over there. Exactly. That would be transgression of the law, not observation of the law.
Mm,
Yeah. You and me working together on this series, that's observation of the law. Not that we're
yep.
adversaries or anything, but as far as like the give and take and just like, you know, making sure there's not like severe competition and jealousy
Bias.
and the other
Yeah,
stuff. So anyway.
absolutely.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. And for all of you that may be listening later, don't forget to like, share, and please comment. We'd really like to hear from you. Even though I may talk a lot and Rekkr gives his opinion too, we want to hear from you too. What you like, what you don't like about the series, add to the commentary, suggestions for improvement or what
Are we on
anything.
something, or are we completely off base and we should actually just be treating everyone as if they're an enemy?
It's almost like you just said, "Come at me, YouTube. Come on."
I mean,
Yeah,
they can try. They can try to come at me. I
yeah.
know things.
I know we do, we do. But actually, we do want to encourage, the comments. It helps, like not only the channel, it provides engagement and keeps us in the algorithm and encourages us to keep doing this. But also like hearing from you, we can only get better hearing, what you guys think. We want to make sure it's
And
resonating.
and nothing's better than a lively debate over a very subjective topic as these laws. Because ultimately that's really all it is. It's just our opinion. It's just a subjective view of the interpretation
Hmm.
of an interpretation of the book's interpretation.
Hmm. Yes, we call that review and commentary. Like it's not just a review of the book; it's like everything we want to say about it, which has probably got to be 2 hours because, like, I had so many conflicting feelings about this law in particular. Did you see Couch's comment there? Okay. He said, when you said you could get behind that, he says, yeah, I could get behind that. Meet me in the parking lot after school, everyone in the world. I said, come on, come and get me. I'm ready for you. That's exactly what it sounded like you were saying. I hear you,
Yep.
Cal. Yeah, he's going to regret that, I think. Can you trust me? I don't know. Yes. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Cassandra's just posted my latest that I just did an upload on what the F law about human trafficking, which put me on a rant. You know, definitely. There's too much going on about that. But on that, let's close it up. Thank you all. Hopefully, we will see you all again soon. And
Yes.
like, share, comment, please, and check out, Rekkr's new channel. Well, he'll be posting some of this in the fundraiser for the archery competition. Is the link above. On that, hey, well, guess we'll sign off. Any last words, Rekk?
It's better to use hot water when making tea.
We could always count on you for good, solid advice. I mean, what could we go wrong with that? Okay.
Exactly.
Yes. I do love corny, but man, I'm just going to hit the button now. Good night, everybody.
Night.